1970s and onwards. To understand the dynamics of economic reforms, we must know the economic policies and important events occurred during 1947 to 1990. Background of the economic crisis mid 1980s. In India, independent India has set up with the stresses, which was due to the geographical and political split of the country. After independence, when the Pakistan-backed Azad Kashmir forces attacked on Kashmir in 1947, the Maharaja Hari Singh sought military assistance from India. Thus, India faced war immediately after independence. In 1947, on the other hand, China encroached India, and on the other hand, India faced warning of United Federation for its nuclear energy program. War with China in 1962, War with Pakistan 1965, failure of Tashkent Agreement, death of two Prime Minister Nehru and Shastri, occurrence of two drought 1965 to 60 and 66, import of food grains from other countries, and massive devaluation of the currency, etc., led to severe economic crisis in the country. But India has successfully came out of these distresses. It gave a clear message to the Indians that India knows how to face the distresses. How India did not know that there are larger issues rising in the coming years. In 1971, war with Pakistan and US nuclear threat on behalf of Pakistan to India that if India does not declare a ceasefire, it will be erased from the world map. India thus had to seek the military assistance of Soviet Union. Then, in the presence of two superpowers, India and Pakistan, war took place. Consequently, we saw the emergence of Bangladesh in 1971. Thus, facing the military challenges, India played a pivotal role in creation of Bangladesh. Thus, internal challenges began to emerge in India: Naxalism, Maoism, separatism in the northeastern part of the countries, terrorism in Punjab and Jammu and Kashmir, emergence of racism and communalism due to vote bank politics, etc., remain major interest, and internal and national security concerns. India's two Prime Ministers, Indira Gandhi and Rajiv Gandhi, were assassinated while fighting against these challenges. Gulf War in 1970, it was first time in the history of human civilization in which 28 countries conducted military actions against a country. That country was Iraq, and the 28 countries had been led by US. The blaze of Gulf War reached India and supply of petroleum stopped. During this period, supply of petrol was done by Malaysia, whose rates were generally high. Consequently, the money supply rate went up by 16.7%. Indian economy was adversely affected by the economic policies MRTP, FARA, high custom duty, inconvertible currency, restriction on FDRs, restriction of merger and acquisition of companies, high government expenditure, monetization of debts, etc., adopted during this period. As a result, India faced serious problems of balance of payments. In addition, the high level of the fiscal deficit, the sharp rise in the fiscal deficit, higher level of inflation put Indian economy into severe economic crisis. India approached the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank for financial aid. This institution, with the financing, given the harsh condition of economic reforms in India. On the basis of this condition, India, while protecting its sovereignty and moved towards the economic reforms, important measures taken during economic reforms of India. The Indian government took the following important measures during the economic reforms in India. Structural reforms. Structural adjustments are taken to improve the supply of the economy through reforms in industrial sector like deregulation and delicensing, disinvestment of public sector enterprises, reforms in trade and capital flows, reforms in financial sector, etc. These policies are called supply side management policies. So, what are those policies? Structural adjustment taken to improve the supply of the economy through reforms in industries like deregulation, delicensing, disinvestment of public sector enterprises, reforming in trade and capital flows, reforms in financial sector. These policies are called supply side management policies. Macroeconomic stabilization measures. Macroeconomic stabilization policy or demand management policy centers around inflation control, improvement of the BOP situation, financial adjustment to correct fiscal imbalances. It suggests that imports were to be liberalized, import duties were to be reduced, quotas and quantitative restriction were to be removed, Indian currency was to be devalued at least 22%, privatization of public sector enterprises were to be made, budgetary deficit and fiscal deficit were to be reduced. Thus, the Indian economy entered a phase what is euphemistically called liberalization, privatization, and globalization strategy of development. The three processes in economic reforms. The process of economic reforms was started by the government of India in 1991 for taking the country out of economic difficulty and speeding up the development of the country. The center of economic reform was liberalization, has been liberalization, privatization, and globalization. Liberalization means to unshackle the economy from bureaucratic cobweb to make it more competitive. Following are the chief features: to do away with the necessity of having a license for most of the industries, freedom in determining the scale of business activities, removing restriction for movement of goods and services from one place to another, freedom to fix the prices of goods and services, restriction in the rates of taxes, reduction in the rates of taxes, freedom from unnecessary control over economy, simplifying import-export procedure, simplifying the process of attracting foreign direct investment, foreign capital, and technology. Privatization. In brief, privatization means such an economic process through which some public sector undertaking is brought either partially or completely under private ownership. Broadly speaking, establishing a new enterprise in private sector instead of public sector is also privatization. So establishing a new enterprise in private sector instead of public sector is also privatization. Not only this, depriving public sector of the job of production which was earlier reserved for it, or transferring its production without depriving it to the private sector also amounts to privatization. Its chief features are given below: reducing the role of public sector, increasing the role of private sector, reducing fiscal burden of the government, reducing the size of the government machinery, speeding up economic development, improving management of enterprises, increasing government treasury, increasing competition by opening industries reserved for public sector for to the private sector. Globalization means integrating the economy with the rest of the world. Following are the chief features: free flow of goods and services in all the countries, free flow of capital in all the countries, free flow of information and technology in all the countries, free movement of people in all the countries, the same conflict solving technique in all the countries. Important step of economic reform taken by the Government of India. For the attainment of the objectives of economic reform, the Government of India has taken the following major step. New industrial policy. Under industrial policy, keeping in view the priorities of the countries, its economic development, the role of the public and private sector are clearly decided. The industries have been freed to a large extent from the licenses and other controls in order to encourage modernization. Stress has been laid upon the use of latest technology. A great reduction has been effected in the role of the public sector. Efforts have been made to encourage foreign investment. Investment decisions by companies have been facilitated by ending restriction imposed by the MRTP Act. Similarly, Foreign Exchange Regulation Act (FERA) has been replaced with Foreign Exchange Management Act (FEMA). Some important points of the new industrial policy have been highlighted here. Abolishing licensing. Before the advent of the new industrial policy, the Indian industries were operated under the strict licensing system. Now, most industries have been freed from licensing and other restrictions. Freedom to import technology. The use of latest technology has been given prominence in the new industrial policy. Therefore, foreign technological collaboration has been allowed. Contraction of public sector. The policy of not expanding unprofitable industrial units in the public sector has been adopted. Apart from this, the government is following the course of disinvestment in such public sector undertaking. Selling some shares of public sector enterprises to private sector enterprises is called disinvestment. This is a medium of privatization. Free energy of foreign investment. Many steps has been taken to attract foreign investment. Most of these are as follows. In 1991, 51% of the foreign investment in 34 highly priority industries was allowed without seeking government permission. Non-resident Indian NRIs were allowed to invest 100% in the export business, hospitals, hotels. Foreign Investment Promotion Board (FIPB) were established with a view to to speedily clear foreign investment. To speedily clear foreign investment proposals. Restrictions which were previously in operation to regulate dividend repatriation by the foreign investor has been removed. They can now take dividends to their native countries. MRTP restriction removed. Monopolies and restrictive trade practices has been done away with. Now the companies do not need to seek government permission to issue shares. Extend their area of operation. Establish a new unit. FERA restriction removed. Foreign Exchange Regulation Act (FERA) has been replaced by Foreign Exchange Management Act (FEMA). It regulates the foreign transactions. These transactions have now become simpler. Increase in the importance of small industries. Efforts have been made to give importance to the small industries in the economic development of the country. New trade policy. Trade policy means the policy through which the foreign trade is controlled and regulated. As a result of liberalization, trade policy has undergone tremendous changes, especially the foreign trade has been freed from the unnecessary controls. The old age restriction have been eliminated at one go. Some of the chief characteristics of new trade policy are as follows. Restriction on the import export have almost disappeared, leaving only a few items. Import export tax on some items have been completely abolished, and on some other items it has been reduced to the minimum level. Import export procedure has been simplified. Foreign capital market has been established for safe and purchase for sale and purchase of foreign exchange in the open market. Many incentive have been allowed to export or oriented units and export processing zones for increasing export duties. In 1994-95, full convertibility became applicable on current account. Here it is important to clarify the meaning of current account and full convertibility. Therefore, it has been done as follows. Current account. Transaction with the foreign countries are placed in two categories. Transaction with current account, example import export. Current account transaction, example investment. Fully convertibility means unrestricted sale and purchase of foreign exchange in the foreign exchange market for purpose of payment and receipt on the items connected with the current account. It means that there is no government restriction on the sale and purchase of foreign exchange connected with current account. On the other hand, sale and purchase of foreign exchange connected with capital account can be carried on under the rates determined by RBI. Fiscal reform. The policy of the government connected with the income and expenditure is called fiscal policy. So fiscal policy means policy of the government connected with income and expenditure is called fiscal policy. It excessively the government the greatest problem confronting the Indian government is excessive fiscal deficit. In 1990 to 91, the fiscal deficit was 8% of the GDP. Fiscal deficit means that the country is spending more than its income. Fiscal deficit means country is spending more than it is earning. Gross domestic product is the sum level of the financial value of all the goods produced and services during a year in a country. Generally, the financial deficit is calculated in the form of GDP's percentage. Presently, the government of India is making efforts to take it to 4%. Solutions of fiscal deficit. In order to handle the problem of fiscal deficit, basic changes were made in the tax system. The following are the major steps taken in this direction. The rate of the individual and corporate tax has been reduced in order to bring more people to the tax net. Tax procedure has been simplified. Heavy reduction in the import duties has been implemented. Monetary reform. The policy is a sort of control policy through which the central bank controls the supply of money with a view to achieve the objectives of the general economic policy. Reforms in the policy are called monetary reforms. The major point with regard to monetary reform are given below. Statutory liquidity ratio (SLR) has been lowered. A commercial bank has to maintain a definite percentage of liquid funds in relation to its net demand and time liabilities. This is called SLR. In liquid funds, cash investment is permitted securities and balance in current account with nationalized bank are included. The banks have been allowed freedom to decide the rate of interest on the amount deposited. New standards have been laid down for the income recognition for the banks. By recognition of income, we mean what is to be considered as the income of the bank. Permission to collect money by issuing shares in the capital market has been granted to nationalized banks. Permission to open banks in the private sector has also been granted. Capital market reforms. Market in which the securities are sold and bought is known as the capital market. The reforms connected with it are known as capital market reforms. This market is the pivot of the economy of the country. Government has taken the following steps for development of this market. Under the portfolio investment scheme, the limit for investment in the NRIs and foreign companies in the shares and debenture of the Indian companies have been raised. Portfolio investment scheme means investing in securities. पोर्टफोलियो इन्वेस्टमेंट मतलब है कि इन्वेस्ट करना सिक्योरिटीज़ में. इन ऑर्डर टू कंट्रोल द कैपिटल मार्केट, सिक्योरिटीज एंड एक्सचेंज बोर्ड ऑफ इंडिया हैज़ बीन एस्टेब्लिश्ड. The restriction in respect of interest on debenture has been lifted. Now it is decided on the basis of demand and supply. The office of the controller of capital issue, which need to determine the price of share to be issued, has been dispensed with. Now the companies are free to determine the price of the share. Private sector has been permitted to establish mutual fund. The registration of the sub broker has been made mandatory. Phasing out subsidies, dismantling price control. Cash compensatory support, which was earlier given as export subsidy, has been stopped. Cash compensatory support can be understood with the help of an example. So what is cash compensatory support? If an exporter wants to import some raw material which is available abroad for 100, but the same material is available in India for 120. The government wants the raw material to be purchased by the exporter from India itself for the protection of indigenous industries. The government is ready to pay the difference of 20 to the exporter in the form of subsidy. The payment of 20 will be considered as कैश कंपेंसेटरी सपोर्ट. अगर एक एक्सपोर्टर इंपोर्ट करना चाहता है कुछ रॉ मटेरियल जो कि अवेलेबल है अब्रॉड में 100 रुपये में, लेकिन सेम मटेरियल भारत में 120 में है, तो गवर्नमेंट चाहता है कि रॉ मटेरियल जो एक्सपोर्टर परचेज करे भारत के लिए जो परचेज करेगा एक्सपोर्टर इंडिया से, वो एक्सपोर्ट कर रहा है ना, तो एक्सपोर्ट को एनकरेज करने के लिए, उसको इंडिजिनियस इंडस्ट्री के प्रोटेक्शन के लिए उस 20 रुपये के जो इंटरनेशनल प्राइस को मैच करने के लिए 20 रुपये का सब्सिडी दे देगा एक्सपोर्टर को, तो उसको बोलते रहते कैश कॉम्पेंसेटरी सपोर्ट. द पेमेंट ऑफ 20 विल बी कंसिडर्ड एज कैश कॉम्पेंसेटरी सपोर्ट. इन एडिशन टू दिस द कैश कॉम्पेंसेटरी सपोर्ट हैज़ बीन रिड्यूस्ड इन केस ऑफ फर्टिलाइजर एंड पेट्रो प्रोडक्ट्स. डिसमेंटलिंग प्राइस कंट्रोल्स. द गवर्नमेंट सब्सिडीज़ को फेज आउट करना, ये लिबरलाइजेशन का मतलब है. Dismantle करना price control. The government has taken step to remove price control in case of many products. Price control means the company will sell goods at a price determined by the government. The efforts to remove price control are mostly in respect of fertilizer, steel, iron, petro products. Restriction on the import of these products have also been removed. That's all about this video, where I have discussed about economic reforms from 1990s and onward, a few points. Thank you.